Hello, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us today. I'll be your moderator for today's session. My name is Erin Zhang, and I'm the program coordinator for the Heartwise Exercise Program here at the University of Ottawa Heart Institute. We encourage you to sign up for our Heartwise webinar newsletter to get the latest information on the next webinar. We aim to continue to bring you an exercise-focused webinar one Friday a month, and will continue to provide webinar programming on a variety of other heart health topics. To start us off, the University of Ottawa Heart Institute acknowledges the unceded traditional territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe and the people of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation, which encompasses the watershed of the Mississippi or Big River, now commonly known as the Ottawa River. The Algonquin Anishinaabe have been here in the watershed for thousands of years, long before European contact, and will continue to be here well into the future. We recognize all Indigenous people in the region from all nations across Canada who have also made Ottawa their home. We acknowledge the traditional knowledge keepers, both young and old, and we honor their courageous leaders, past, present, and future. We dedicate ourselves to moving forward in the spirit of partnership and reconciliation. Together, we take responsibility for the heart health of all people in the region. An important message: if you or your loved one need urgent medical attention, please do not ignore your symptoms. Call 911 or go to the nearest emergency room. Emergency responders, hospitals, and emergency departments have taken additional measures to ensure the safety of their patients. A few housekeeping notes before we get started. We are, of course, always available by email to answer any questions you may have before, during, or after the pre-recorded live webinars, with our email address here at the bottom of the screen, heartwisewebinar@ottawaheart.ca. If you have a more personal health-related question, please contact your healthcare provider. We also value your feedback to help us improve the educational experiences that we offer. So we are always more than happy to receive any feedback or suggestions you may have by email as well. And of course, this recorded session will still be accessible from the Heartwise webinars section of our website, pwc.ottawaheart.ca. We are very proud to have collaborated with the amazing team at the Soloway Jewish Community Center to present this Vitality Strength exercise class to all of you today. Now, before passing it on to our instructor, David Yates, I would just like to share a quick intro about David. So he has been a certified fitness instructor for over 20 years. He also holds certifications in step aerobics, aquafit, cardio kickboxing, spinning, and is a certified personal trainer. As well, he has a sixth degree black belt in a Japanese martial art called Aikido, and has owned and operated his own martial arts school for over 40 years. He has worked at many gyms over the years, but now works solely at the SJCC. So joining David today in the exercise class will also be some guests, Joe and Joan Pinto, who found their place at the Soloway JCC through the Heart Institute and after a heart attack on their journey to a heart healthy lifestyle. Now, before I pass it over to David, I will just quickly go over our online exercise disclaimer. So, as with any exercise programs, you should consult your physician or other healthcare professional before starting this or any other virtual workouts to determine if it is right for your needs. Do not start these exercises if your physician or other healthcare provider advises against them. The information presented in this video is intended for a general audience and is not suitable for, nor does it replace, professional medical advice. The performance of the activities in the videos is solely at your own risk. The University of Ottawa Heart Institute is not responsible for any injury or harm you sustain as a result of your attempt to perform the activities in the video. If you experience dizziness, pain, or shortness of breath at any time while exercising, you should stop immediately. If you are in Canada and think you are having a medical or health emergency, call your healthcare professional or 911 immediately. And I will now hand the torch over to Susan to tell you a little bit more about the class and the great programming available at the center.
Hi, my name is David Yates, and I'm a fitness instructor and personal trainer at the Soloway JCC, Jewish Community Center. The JCC is a fully equipped fitness center with up-to-date equipment, dedicated spin room, dedicated fitness room, a large gym with pickleball, an indoor saltwater pool, and an outdoor pool in the summer. There's 60 fitness classes a week, including spin, yoga, ballet, bar, tai chi, boot camp, aquafit, to name just a few. As well, we do personal trainers and have quite a few personal trainers on staff. There's something for all age groups, recreational programs, cultural and educational programs, and everyone is welcome. There's several membership options. I would like to introduce Joe and Joan. Joe and Joan are participants in many of the fitness classes. They attend 3 fitness classes a week. And I wanted to highlight Joe and Joan in the classes because Joe had a heart attack 16 years ago and was referred to this gym by the Ottawa Heart Institute. Currently, for 18 years, Joe has been volunteering at both the Civic Hospital and the Heart Institute. And he started his fitness journey with us following his heart attack. That said, Joe's 91 years old. And as I said, he does 3 fitness classes a week. So if you're watching this video and thinking to yourself, I can't do that, think of Joe, think of Joan. 3 classes a week. One thing that I would like to emphasize is it's better to do something than do nothing. So look at the workout that we're going to do and take aspects from it. And as I said, it's better to do any part of it than do none of it. So the class that we're going to be doing today is resistance training. So resistance training is anaerobic activity, which means it's the opposite of aerobic. With anaerobic resistance training, what we're looking at is strengthening the muscles, strengthening the connective tissues, ligaments, and tendons. And there's been many studies over the past few years that shows that resistance training also greatly improved bone density. So everything about resistance training is important, especially as we age, because our bones and muscles as we age start to atrophy, and it's resistance training is really the only way to combat that, to mitigate it. So without any more talk before, we'll start. Now, I'm going to be working with hand weights, dumbbells. Joe is going to be working with an exercise band, and Joan is going to be doing the same exercises seated. The reason why we're doing that is because a lot of people will be doing these exercises at home and will have limited resources with regards to the equipment that they can use. So I wanted to show that you can do the same exercises with a hand weight, resistance tube, or and if you have mobility issues, you can do the same exercises seated. So when I'm talking dumbbells, in case you're not familiar, this is what I'm talking as far as dumbbell goes. A hand weight like this, you can buy them at any store around this, any Canadian Tire around the city. They come in multiple sizes, so you can buy the weight that you feel like you want to start with. Start small. The exercise band that I'm talking about, you'll see Joe working with it. This is the exercise tube that I'm talking about. So you can do all of the exercises. We have to modify a few of them, but you can do all of the exercises that you would normally do with hand weights. You can do these. Now, the benefit of a tube or a band, so it goes by both names, is that it packs very small. You can keep it in a drawer. They're very, very inexpensive to buy, and they do the same job in an exercise class as if you were using hand weights. So the option is yours. So you can watch what I'm doing or what Joe is doing, depending on which equipment that you want to use. So before we start the class, I just want to say that please be aware of the form that I'm doing. I'll try to cue on form because form is very, very important. It's very, very easy to adjust, do the exercise just slightly different, and you'll end up by working a different muscle than what we want to be working. The other thing that you want to be aware of is you want to be aware of which muscle you're working. You want to be, if we're working biceps, you want to concentrate on your bicep as you're doing it. And please have water. You want to stay hydrated. It's very, very, very important when you're starting an exercise that you remain hydrated during the whole exercise. So without any more ado, let's begin. So we're going to be starting working biceps. So the bicep is the front of the arm, from the shoulder to the elbow. To do this exercise, you want to keep your elbow pinned to your body so that you're not moving your elbow forward and back. You want to keep the upper part of your body, the upper part of your arm completely stationary. Now, when we do this in a class, I usually do 24 straight. If you find that 24 straight is too many repetitions, you can do it in series of 8. Do 8, take a rest. Do 8, take a rest. Do 8, take a rest. So I'm going to be showing it in a row, all 24 together. Just, it'll take less time. But the idea, you can take a break whenever you want. Okay, so here we go on biceps. Joan, you ready? Ready. Here we go. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 60, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay, put your weights down. After every muscle group, we stretch that muscle. So we'll stretch our biceps. Side. So as you can see from that first exercise, all 3 of us were working biceps. I was working with dumbbells. Joe was working with the tube. And Joan was working with hand weights, but in a seated position. In all cases, it would completely different in the equipment what we're using or how our body is situated. But in every case, we work the bicep in exactly the same way. So if you have mobility issues, you can do it seated. If you only have a band, you can use just a band. Okay, so let's move on now. So now we're going to work triceps. So the bicep is in the front of the arm. The tricep is the opposing muscle in the back of the arm. When we work the bicep, we stretch the tricep. So now we're going to work the opposing muscle to the bicep, and that's the tricep. So to do this, you pick up a weight and you cup it. You cup it with your hands like this. And we're going behind the head with our elbows pointing forward. If you notice, before we start, can you start again? So Joe is doing one arm at a time with the tube. He's holding the tube, standing on it, and then moving it behind his head with his elbow pointing forward. Joe can adjust the weight of the tube by where he stands on the tube. If he wants it less tension, he can move his foot this way. If he wants more tension, he can move his foot the other way. So just as if you were using hand weights and you wanted to go and grab a lighter weight or a more heavy weight, with the tube, you can change how much resistance you have with the weight. And Joan is doing exactly the same workout, same exercise from a seated position. Okay, triceps, here we go. 8, 7, 6, 5. Make sure your elbows are pointing forward. 4, 3, 2, 60, 50, 14, 30. Okay, let's give Joe a chance to change sides because he's doing one arm at a time. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 60, 15, 14, 13. Good. Okay, waist down. Now we're going to stretch our tricep. So hands behind. And then with your arm like this, pull back until you feel the stretch in your tricep. Other side. Okay, I hope everybody's feeling good and doing well. If you want to grab a drink of water, do so whenever you feel like it. As I said, it's very, very important to stay hydrated. So the next exercise we're going to do is for upper back. One thing I didn't mention at the beginning of this class is this is a full body workout. So we're working every major muscle group in the body. Plus we're doing some exercises later for hip mobility and hip flexibility. So we worked our biceps and triceps. Now we're going to work our upper back and lower back. So form is very, very important from here. For the upper back portion, you stand and you bend over so that your back is at about a 45-degree angle, hands down and looking about 3 feet in front of your toes on the floor. You don't want to look at your feet. That rounds your back and puts too much pressure on your lower back. So you want to be looking forward. So I'm going to do this exercise sideways to the camera, or maybe I'll do it both ways. I'll start sideways and turn forward. So this is like a rowing exercise. Why don't you do that? So Joe is going to switch to hand weights because if you're going to do a tube for this, generally you would do it sitting on the floor, and I don't want Joe to have to get up and down. So Joe's going to do this with the hand weights, but just to show before we start. If you wanted to do this exercise with a tube, you can do this with a tube by putting the tube around your feet and widening your feet and pulling back like you're rowing. So this works the upper back as well. Okay, here we go. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. I'm just going to turn 45 degrees so you can see this from the front. 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and down. So if you notice, Joan was doing this from a seated position with a tube. with the tube around her feet. So it was almost like she was in a boat, rowing a boat. So she was working the upper back in that way. Okay, so now we're going to stretch our upper back. So the best way to stretch our upper back is pretend we're hugging a big tree, but we can't get our arms quite around it. So we're rounding our back and stretch. Good work, everybody. So I want to reiterate that we are doing this in a 24 count set of reps straight. If you're doing this at home, you can easily do 8, take a break. Take a break for 1 or 2 minutes, and then do another 8, and then take a break. We're only doing it through the full 24 count just to keep this video down to about 45 minutes. And who wants to watch us just resting? So just please keep that in mind while you're doing the workout. So we're going to work lower back now. So we work upper back and now lower back. So this position that we were in when we were doing the upper back, we're going to go down to that position. For lower back, the weights just hang. They just hang in front of you. And what you do is you do this in a very slow motion to like a 2 count. So from here, you go down, down to this back position, then up, up. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 60, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. While we're doing this, if you've got mobility issues, watch how Joan is doing it. She's putting the weights down and picking them up off the floor. This is working her lower back in the same way we are. 5, 4, 3, 2, good. Weights down. So we don't have a good stretch for our lower back standing, so we'll do it near the end of the class while we're down on the ground. So next we're going to work our legs. Best way to work legs is to do squats. Now, if you have mobility issues, rather than do a squat, put a chair in front of you and just do it an assisted standing up. So go ahead, John. So just assisted. So John is just standing up out of the chair and down. So anything that you can put in front of you that you can assist with the standing, putting your weight on it. Okay, and Joe and I, well, you can go back to the tube for this. So squats are an exercise that a lot of people do incorrectly. When standing, you want your feet about shoulder width apart. And what you want to do is you want to go down with your back straight, almost as if you were sitting in a chair. And you want all your weight in your heels of your shoes, not in the toes of your shoes. You should be able to tap your toes in your shoes. There should be no weight on them at all. So we're going down, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Important to know while we're doing this, if you have knee issues, it's best to either avoid this exercise completely or don't go down very low. Just go down halfway, like this. If you feel any pain in your knees, it's a good idea to stop. Last 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Good work, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well, following along easily. Maybe grab a drink of water. Next, we're going to move on to hips. So while we're doing hips, I'm going to use a bar because we have them in the gym, but I'm sure that none of you have bars at home. So at home, you can do it on a wall. So Joe is going to be showing the movement on the wall, and Joan is going to be showing similar movements from a seated position in a chair. So again, we're showing 3 different pieces of equipment, all doing the same exercise. Now, this next series of exercises is, as I said, resistance training is very, very important for a lot of different reasons. The hip exercise we're doing probably as we age are probably the most important series of movements that we can do for 2 things. While we're doing it, here, just let me get a bar. So while I'm doing this, I'm standing with the bar here, and I'm working one leg. While I'm working one leg, the other leg is supporting all my weight, that and the bar. So the leg that I'm working, we're working our hips. We're running our hips through a whole series of motions, the directions that our hips move. Our hips are a ball and socket joint, very, very complicated. They move, our hips move, our legs move in a lot of different directions, the same as our shoulders. And so we have to work that in all the different ways. So while we're doing that with our hips on one leg, we're supporting all our weight on the other foot. So what that's doing on the supporting leg is it's working muscular endurance on the supporting leg, and it's working all of the little supporting muscles that support, all the tiny muscles that support the larger muscles. So here we go. So going to the front with a straight leg, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Then we're going to the side, 8, same leg, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then back. Now, just before we go, notice I'm doing this without putting my foot down each time. But that's not necessary. You can do each motion and put your foot down. 7, and put your foot down. 6, put your foot down. As you get better at it, then you can start trying, maybe put your foot down every second time. And get to the point where you're not putting your foot down at all or rarely. 3, 2, and then the up. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. You see the other side. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then we're doing circles in front, inside out. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and outside in. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and down. So give your leg a shake, change sides. Okay, here we go. Other side. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, side. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and back. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, yep. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, inside out rotations. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and outside. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and down. Give it all a shake. So as I said, you should feel that you're working your hip, but you should also feel that you're working the leg that's just supporting you should be getting tired. You're working muscular endurance on that leg. This hip exercises that we're doing are very functional exercises. Well, actually, the whole workout we're doing is a very, very functional exercise. Functional meaning that we're working the muscles that we use every day when we go out, we go shopping, we're in our houses or our apartments. All the muscles that we use to reach things from the cupboard or pick things up off the floor, these are all the muscles that we're using in this class. So that's why they're called functional exercises. They are they work so that we can function in our daily lives. So next we're going to move on to our shoulders. Now, as I said, with the hips, you notice how many different exercises we did for our hips, because the hip is a ball and socket joint, moves in all different directions, opposed to, say, the bicep, which is a hinge joint. The hinge joint only moves one way. This is it. It doesn't move in circles around like the hip does and like the shoulder does. The shoulder moves in all different directions. Again, ball and socket joint. So the series of exercises that we use for our shoulders are a bit longer than we do for other muscle groups because we're working them in all of the different directions. So that the shoulders are broken into 3 sections: the front or anterior, the middle or the medial, or the posterior, the back. So we're going to be working all of the exercises. Joe is going to be doing it with a band, so you can cross over like you do. And Joe is going to be doing it from a seated position. So I'm going to turn sideways just so you can see for the first exercise, so you can see I'm going. My arms are straight, and we're going out. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. I'm just going to turn to the front so you can see the exercise. The next exercise are coming out to the sides. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. So the next exercise, we're going down into this back position that we use for our upper back when we're pulling the weights up like this. Same position. So we're moving, using the weights in the same direction that we just used them. So our back is bent and we're going 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Now we straighten our backs up and we push the weights together and we're doing an upright row. So 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Good. The next exercise, we do, Joe with the tube is going to do one arm at a time, the same as we did for triceps. So the next exercise is called a shoulder press. When you're doing a shoulder press, you want your elbows sideways to your body. And you want your arms to make an L, 90-degree on the arms. And on the lower portion of this motion, you're going to be going up and then down. It's very important on the lower movement of this exercise that you don't let your elbows go below your shoulders. You want to keep your elbows parallel to your shoulder. If you go below, you're putting too much strain on your shoulder. So the movement is here, up, and down. You stop here. Okay? So here, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and we'll give Joe a chance to switch sides. Again, just as I said before, you can adjust the amount of resistance that you're moving with the tube by how close or far your foot is. Okay, so again, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and down. Good work, everybody. Just awesome. We're going to stretch our shoulders out now. So to stretch our shoulders, we put our palm up, other hand underneath your elbow and pull it forward and across. And while we have that arm, let's re-stretch our tricep. And across. Side. Okay, why don't you grab some water? I'm just going to get some knots. So we're just going to do some very, very simple leg stretches. Okay, we're going to have our feet out and just move to one side. Now, again, if you're in a chair, you can do the same exercise within the chair. Other side. Any stretching exercise where you're stretching your legs or stretching any muscle, it's not important that you touch your feet. The contest is not to touch your feet. Every muscle inserts after a joint. So if you bend that joint to reach your toes, you're not stretching anything. So make sure your legs are flat to the ground, and if only you can only reach your knee, then just grab your knee and pull gently. When stretching, it's always important to go to a point where you feel tightness, and then just pull just a little bit beyond that. Don't ever bounce. Bouncing is horrible for your joints when you're stretching. Go to a point of resistance, just go a little bit further. And the other thing that's important about stretching is don't ever try to compare yourself to how somebody else is stretching. Everybody have different levels of flexibility. A lot of it's got to do with heredity, but a lot of it's got to do with the exercises that they've done, how they worked out. And everybody's stretching is their own personal path. So don't ever look at and say, oh, look at how flexible they are. I should be able to do that. Don't ever do that. Always, always same rule. Go to a point where you feel resistance, and then just go a little bit further. And so you lift together, and just do a little butterfly. Grab your ankles and push down. And then pull your feet. Now this is where, grab your feet, this is where, remember when we were standing up, we didn't stretch our lower back. So if you look forward and pull forward, this is where you'll feel the stretch in your lower back. Now there's a lot of different leg exercises that we can do now. And in my regular classes, I do a longer stretch than this. But if you do just what we've done now, that's a very, very good start to what we're doing. The other thing that I'm not including right now is if you're going to do an ab exercise, the one that I would recommend is being the most beneficial. We have one set of abs, but we have three different regions. We have our upper abs, our lower abs, and our obliques. So there's an exercise called a bicycle, where it's as if you're sitting in a chair and you're bringing your upper body and crossing it while you're pedaling with your feet. This is the best all-around ab exercise there is. So it's just like you're pedaling a bicycle. The reason why this is such a good ab exercise is because any exercise where you're bringing your upper body towards your knees, you're working the upper portion of your abs. Any exercise where you're bringing your knees up to your body, you're working the lower portion of your abs. And any exercise where you're twisting, you're working your obliques. So as you can see with the bicycle, in one exercise, we're working all three regions of our abdominals. These are upper bodies coming up, our knees are coming up, and our upper body is twisting. So if you're going to do an ab exercise, you're only going to do one ab exercise, that's the one I would recommend that you do. So that's the whole routine. So as you can see, we work the whole body. We worked our arms, biceps, and triceps. We worked our upper back. We worked our lower back. We worked our legs. We worked our hips, and we worked our shoulders and our abs. Full body workout. So, as I said, I'm an instructor at the Soloway Jewish Community Center. But this gym is open to everybody. Any background, any age. I've taught in a lot of different gyms in my life. And I have to say that I have never been in a gym where people are so friendly, hospitable, respectful of each other. I would really highly recommend the JCC if you're looking for, especially if you're older and you're looking for a place to work out. We have a lot of classes, vitality classes that are really structured towards aging, healthy aging. And I can't say enough great things about this gym. It's a pleasure for me to be representing them today. And you just couldn't find a more hospitable atmosphere than at the JCC. Before we go, I want to take a second to thank Joe and Joan. They took time out of their afternoon to come and join us. As I said, you can't have better role models than Joe and Joan when it comes to aging in a healthy way. As I said, Joe's 91 years old and he does 3 classes a week. So I hope this video helped everybody, and you know, good exercising. And remember what I said, it's better to do anything to do nothing. Uh, One more thing I wanted to say. Right now, we work the whole body. We work our entire body. But that's not important to work your whole body every time you work out. If you want to set up a routine for yourself where, say, Monday, you do just your arms. So you do the bicep exercise and the tricep exercise. And then Wednesday, you do your back and your shoulders. So on Wednesday, you do all our shoulder movements and our back movements. And then on Friday, you do your abs and your legs and your hips. It's a really, really good way to start out, to break the workout up. Then you're only committing yourself to maybe 15 or 20 minutes per workout. You're giving your body, your muscles a chance to rest before your next workout. And it's just a really, really responsible way to start off. So you're working your way into it gradually. And there are a lot of people that work out like that, a lot of serious weightlifters that work different muscles. So don't think that that's a cop out in any way. It's just a great way to go about your training. So have a wonderful afternoon, everybody, and thanks for allowing us into your house for that last hour. Thank you. Thank you guys.
You're sure you want to stop recording? Yes, you should be on the notification. If I'm recording. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you again to David for leading that great class and to his colleagues at the Soloway JCC for offering amazing health and fitness services in the community, and as well to all of you for joining us today.